Hi, friends. Welcome to VintageDrumsTalk.com. Jim Messina here once again with another exciting vintage drum video for you. Now, today I'm doing a little something different. I actually have a guest here in the studio. Let me introduce you to Bill Armstrong. Bill, how you doing, my friend?
Great. How are you?
I'd like to introduce you to the vintage drum community worldwide. Say hello to them all.
Well, hello.
Now, you might wonder, who is Bill Armstrong? I didn't know him before yesterday. I must say that I had an interview scheduled here, and Bill contacted me via email saying he was in town or near here, and he has a terrific story. He wanted to come and see my collection, so we got together as fellow drummers, and he also has a really hot drum that we want to tell you about. I love historical drums with a real vintage vibe to them. This drum definitely fits that bill. Speaking of Bill, why don't you tell us just of what we're talking about here, okay? I'll let you take the story. Go ahead.
Okay. About the drum, first of all, it's a 1939 Leedy Broadway parallel snare drum that was custom made for Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And the snare drummer, Ray Red Floyd, who was the snare drummer for 30 years with Ringling Brothers.
Terrific.
The first season that it actually played was 1942, because in 1940 and 41 there was a musicians union strike. And the Ringling band didn't travel that year. So that's why it was delayed a year before it actually went to work. But then it played another 20 years after that, when Red retired, I think in about 1960. And it's amazing that I came up with it. All right.
We're going to put a picture up of this drum. It's the vibe off it is so cool. Check this out. Now, it's as you'll notice, it's got appliques on it. Circus type appliques, but they're all done. You've seen the diamond appliques on full dress drums, okay? And done in the same material, the same, sparkle or glitter purlin that they used in those days. You have like an elephant, a trapeze artist, a clown, a conductor, and some musical notes. I just find it really quirky and such a cool historical item. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about it, Bill?
Okay. First of all, it's toured all over the world. It's been everywhere that the circus went. The drum went with it. This fellow was a legendary snare drummer in the 30s and 40s. As a matter of fact, I think I'd mentioned before that the New York Philharmonic percussion section, whenever the circus was in town, would come down and watch this guy play. And Buster Bailey, who was with the Philharmonic at the time, actually filled in for Red Floyd a couple of times, probably on this drum.
Wow. That is amazing. The vibe. We've got the drum here, by the way. And we're not showing it to you yet, but we're going to pull it up here and set it on the desk. But I want to show you these pictures. Take a look at them. They're just fabulous. The drum is in good shape. The white marine pearl is yellowed, as you would expect. But there's a little more to the story about the actual physical aspects of this drum. Some changes were made along the way, as sometimes happens with old drums like this. They change hands, and they actually change functions now and then, don't they?
Yes, they certainly do.
What happened in this case?
This drum actually was a matching bass drum made with it at the same time. And when those guys retired, the bass drum went to Merle Evans, who was the band director at Ringling for 50 years. It went to his garage, and the snare drum was sold to a fellow named Rudy Bundy, who was treasurer and director of operations for Ringling Brothers in the 50s and 60s.
Wow. Okay.
And he had his own private train car that he toured the country with the circus. And He took the drum and put some WFL floor tom legs on it and made it into a cocktail table.
And here's a picture of that, you guys, right now. You're not going to believe it. Look, you can see the ashtray right there. Now, we don't know who that is that he's sitting with, right?
That's his wife.
That's his wife. Okay.
Katie.
Now, today we would say, oh, gosh, we all know our mantra, never drill holes. But back in those days, there was no vintage drum community yet. And he was just making one of those wicked cocktail tables out of this drum. And it's still in that shape, right? Those brackets are still there.
The brackets are still, the legs, I just didn't bring the legs with me, but they're still there. He had a vacation cabin in Ohio, in a small town where I'm from. He was a friend of my dad's. He was my dad's first clarinet teacher.
Okay.
And so I knew the family, and I knew that he had this cabin that was decorated with circus things. And I finally conned my way in through Rudy's granddaughter to go in there and see what was in that building. And as soon as I walked in, I saw this drum.
So,
wow.
So the bass drum was not with it, right?
No, the bass drum belongs to the Sarasota. No, it's the South Pasadena concert band up around, it's the St. Petersburg, I guess.
Yeah.
And they play concerts at Treasure Island with it, and they use the bass drum. The bass drum sat in the garage and got damp, and all the applique fell off of it, and the wrap fell off of it, and somebody of them took it apart and refinished the drum.
Okay, yeah. Now you're down. You just happen to be down here, reuniting, as far as I understand, the bass drum and the snare drum, right?
That's why I'm in Florida.
Because you're from Ohio, right?
Right.
Oh, okay.
I posted a picture of the snare drum on a vintage drum forum, and the webmaster from this band contacted me and said, hey, we've got the bass drum that was made with that drum.
Oh, cool.
And so it just seemed like a really good idea to get those two together and let them talk to each other.
So you made a special trip down here, had to pay extra fare.
Had to buy it its own tickets.
Jeez. Well, I don't blame you. I would not have, let that go in regular cargo or whatever. But it's a fantastic find. There's some more that goes with it. It's related to George Way. Now, a lot of you guys know that name. George Way had everything to do with Leedy drums. And I want you to look at this. This piece of paper, this sticker, is inside this drum, okay? Now, if you read this, it's from George Way himself. Why don't you tell us about that?
Okay. Well, when I took the head off, I was amazed to find that. And it said this Leedy 15 by 12 floating head snare drum was especially designed and built to order for the world's greatest drummer, Ray Floyd, by the makers of the world's greatest drums. July 10th, 1939, George H. Way, Leedy Drum Company.
Is that not cool?
Elkhart.
And you can see it was typed. It's not a manufactured label. It's it is pasted in there, but seriously, when you look at this picture, you can tell, guys, it was just made on a typewriter. George Way.
Well, George Way was also a circus drummer. And he was great friends with Merle Evans and Ray Floyd and these guys. And at that time, Leedy had the contract to supply the circus with drums. So all their drums were coming from Leedy for a while. I see.
Yeah. Well, this is absolutely fantastic. And I got to tell you guys, I'm sitting next to the drum right now, and I can feel the vibe coming from it. Can you feel that? I think it's time we let you guys see the drum in person. I've been showing you pictures. We got it right here. Let's pull it up here. Take a look at this, you guys. Maybe you'll feel the vibe. All right. Now look at that. It's a little hard to see, and I'm going to supply some extra pictures, but we got yellowed white marine pearl here. But look, here are the leg mounts, and they're WFL leg mounts with spring-loaded. It's a shame, but back then, You know, they didn't have those rules of no drilling. And here's something else here that on the bottom, of course, it says, you know, Broadway parallel on the bottom hoop. And I'll show you that. But look here. Here's a modification where they put a big washer over where the actual parallel mechanism would have been. I don't know why they wanted to remove that. Do you think Red did that, or?
Well, I probably wore it out. This is that's also a 40s Leedy strainer.
Yeah.
That's on there now. So he traded out that strainer.
Mm-hmm.
They played it. He did 2 shows, 2 3-hour shows a day, plus a parade.
This drum has seen a lot of work, and it's been everywhere. And it's actually, it's very intact. It's not rickety. There's nothing. It's just, you can see the yellow marine pearl, and it can use some cleaning, but it's difficult because look, RF, Red Floyd.
Red Floyd.
Look at that. How are you going to clean around that? That's pretty difficult. But these appliques are really original. Look at that. A trapeze artist. We've got the elephant, conductor, and then most of all, we've got a tent with the word Ringling. A little bit of damage on the M and the N in the word Ringling, but still, what a cool vibe from an historical drum that is a piece of Americana, actually. Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, Circus, and this drum has everything to do with it. And I got to say, you've made quite a find here. Now, what are your intentions with this drum?
It's not for sale.
You hear that, guys? Don't call me. It's not for sale.
Talk to my kids when I'm dead. It is not for sale. I'm so thrilled to have it because I have a kind of a personal connection with Rudy Bundy.
Yes.
And I've found out all this stuff about Red Floyd, and it's just been fascinating following where all these people went. They went everywhere by train all over the United States.
What a fantastic find. I'm loving this, you guys. You know, I want to thank you so much for bringing this in and showing this to me and taking the time to seek me out, because this is just the kind of thing we like to present on VintageDrumsTalk.com. I'm so thankful that you contacted me with this, because it's a great story, and maybe we'll even do some follow-up on it, see what happens with things, because he's going to be playing this drum for a while here. He already did I
did a concert with. Yeah. I play with I'm with Muskingum University in Ohio.
Okay. And
Muskingum Valley Symphonic Winds, which is a semi-pro, which means it pays but not very much. Wind band in Ohio, and I played Barnum and Bailey's favorite on it with that a month or so ago. I also play with the faculty jazz group there at Muskingum.
I think you could take this thing on tour and put it back on the road. You could go out doing concerts with this and telling the whole story.
I've thought about running away and joining the circus.
Yeah! As did every kid. Bill Armstrong, he's the one who discovered this fantastic Ringling drum. Guys, stay tuned to VintageDrumsTalk.com. We're going to be presenting more of this. Stick around. Jim Messina and Bill Armstrong saying goodbye to you. Thanks, Bill. Take care, guys.